Well, the South Australian Government is standing by Deputy Premier Vickie Chapman after a parliamentary inquiry heard she misled Parliament and had a conflict of interest when rejecting the application to build a seaport on Kangaroo Island, where she owns property. Joel Philp is live for us in Adelaide. Joel, if the government continues to support Ms Chapman, it could lead to a constitutional crisis, is that right?
That's right, Ash. Look, the Deputy Premier is expected to provide a written statement to this parliamentary inquiry today, and it's not expected to be tabled in Parliament till tomorrow, but the Deputy Premier has been adamant for the entire time that she did nothing wrong and there was no conflict of interest with her decision to reject the application for a deep sea port on Kangaroo Island by a timber company where she owned property. But the lawyer leading this inquiry, QC Rachael Gray, said that there was a clear conflict of interest, that Mrs Chapman misled Parliament because she was not clear about owning property on the island, and that because of her actions she should be referred to by the Ombudsman, Take a listen to what QC Rachael Gray had to say, and then the opposition leader and Premier.
The Attorney-General was in a position of not just perceived conflict, but actual conflict.
If Vickie Chapman had any decency, had any honour, she would now resign.
I don't think there's a single piece of evidence that would move my decision to 100% support the Deputy Premier of South Australia.
When this report is tabled in Parliament, it is highly likely that Mrs Chapman will face a motion of no confidence. It is worth remembering that the South Australian government is a minority government here that has been hemorrhaging power for this time, so there is a strong possibility that motion of no confidence could be successful. If the government continues to support her at that point, it could create a messy situation in which the new Speaker here in South Australia is forced to go to the new Governor in South Australia to ask the Deputy Premier to be stripped of her roles. The state government so far has been putting 100% of their support behind the Deputy Premier. Take a listen to what the Sports Minister had to say today.
The Premier's made it abundantly clear he 100% supports the Attorney-General, as do I. The team is right behind the Attorney and she's doing a great job.
I'm outside of Parliament here where one minister was asked, should Mrs Chapman resign? And she said, that is not my decision to make. So that was a slightly interesting comment that was made there. There are 3 days of Parliament this week, and the Liberal Party met last night for a party room meeting, but apparently the issue of Vickie Chapman was not discussed in that meeting. It is likely to dominate question time today. And of course, at this stage, the Deputy Premier, her career hangs in the balance, as well as her leadership role, and it's likely to unravel, and we'll see what situation occurs in the coming days. Ash?
We'll watch that space for sure. Joel, thank you for the update.